So, I'm going to talk about Arabic Cabala. In 489 AD, Emperor Nero closed the Academy of Edessa in Syria, meaning the arts and sciences of Hellenistic Greece were finally closed to the west. The center of ancient wisdom transferred to the Persian Academy of Jundi Sabur. Henceforth, the advancement of the arts, sciences, and medicines became the domain of Arab culture. Arab science has influenced many greats of the Western magical tradition, including the Knights Templar, Catholic theologians, the troubadours, the chivalric Round Table, the Rosicrucians, Aleister Crowley, and the Carboni of Italy. In fact, Cabala itself is said to have been started by an 8th century Sufi group known as the Faithful Brothers of Basta or Ikhwan el-Safa, the Sacred Brethren. Over the millennia, Arab mystics managed to preserve the classic works of the ancient world and the algebra of ancient India. After the Crusades, previous works thought to be lost to Western civilization suddenly became available. In Arabic theology, the Prophet Muhammad was the maker of Islamic law, which comes in two forms, Sharia and Tasawwuf, also called Sufism. According to Islamic tradition, Sufism was formed by Muhammad and 7 other supreme adepts, who together formulated the blessings or baraka. This was the first wave of Sufism, and it was followed by 2 other waves of masters. The metaphysical tradition states that Sufism is a continuation of the guidance of the ancient mystic science that goes back to Babylon and Hermes the thrice great, who many believed was the first supreme adept who founded Western metaphysics, and that all schools from Sufism to the Neoplatonic system, Cabala, and Gnosticism are the heirs of Hermes, is said to be the Islamic prophet Idris and the Enoch of the Hebrews. Sufism began in 7th century Persia as esoteric Islam. The word Sufi is probably a nickname given to the devotees of the Tasawwuf. Either it refers to the wool garment that they wore, or it means pure. The early Sufis were mystics who practiced under the guidance of Muhammad and the major disciples. They studied the Tasawwuf and set aside the literal meaning of Muhammad's words for a mystical interpretation. They later became influenced by Arabic Neoplatonism and Vedanta Hinduism. During the 8th century, Sufism spread across the Islamic era, revival of Jewish mysticism. It then spread across the medieval world to Spain and Italy, Turkey, Central Asia, Northern India, and Southern China. Traditional and fundamental Muslims do not accept Sufism as legitimate. To them, it is a sin. The Faithful Brothers of Basra. The Faithful Brothers were a small group of Ismaili Shia Muslims found in Basra, Iraq in 950 AD. Strongly influenced by Aristotelianism and Neoplatonism, they published their works between 975 and 1000. In 1160, their works were burnt in Baghdad by the Orthodox Islamic Church. Their most influential work was the Rasail letters, an encyclopedia containing all the alchemical, esoteric, and metaphysical knowledge of the time. They, as did the Sufis, considered themselves to be true heirs of the most ancient wisdom of Pythagoras and Hermes. Their writings are important as they summarize Arabian philosophy in the period prior to the mingling of Arab and Western ideas. which occurred during the 11th and 12th centuries. The Brahmin had knowledge of the Tree of Life, which featured only 8 Sephirot, a formula still used by Rosicrucians. The number of Sephirot was increased to 10 by Jewish mystics during the 11th century. By the 13th century, Sufic esoteric lore had begun to influence the West with their interpretations of Plato and Aristotle, giving the West access to these ideas just as this was emerging from the so-called Dark Ages. The Renaissance and the Age of Enlightenment were brought about by the spread of Arab wisdom through Moorish Spain into Europe. The Crusades against the Saracens in the Middle East and against the Cathars Albigensians had been launched to combat the expansion of the intellectual arena of the Islamic world that made the printing and publication of the Sefer Sohar in the 13th century possible. Huruf al-Jamal. The Arabs called the alphabetic numeral system Huruf al-Jamal, meaning totally by means of letters. The system is modeled on the Hebrew, but also incorporates elements of the Greek system. The Hebrew order of the 22 letters represents the numbers under 400. The remaining letters accommodate the numbers from 400 to 1000. The people who had devised this writing system had therefore taken the 22 letters of the alphabet as they found them and added 6 further conventional signs in order to complete a correspondence, to achieve a system of numerals which was complete from 1 to 1000. There are 2 different systems used by Arabic-speaking peoples, in which the value of 6 letters differ. The first is used by Middle Eastern Arabs, and the second, a later adaptation, is used by North African Arabs. Since each Arabic letter is the first letter of one of the attributes of Allah, Alif is the first letter of Allah, Ba is the first letter of Baki, he who remains, etc. The use of Arabic letters led to the most secret system. In this system, each letter is assigned not its usual value, but instead the number of the divine attribute of which is the first letter. For instance, Alif, the first letter of Allah, who is the number 66, which is the number of the name of Allah, calculated according to the Abyad system. This is the system used in the symbolic theology called Dava, invocation, which allows the forecasting and speculation of the past, present, and the future, allowing magicians to contrive talisman and magic squares. So, this was what I know about Arabic Cabala, and I hope you enjoy it. I love you all. Bye for now.